Yes, yes, queen. Excuse me. Hi, guys. This is the first of what I hope will be many. I've been wanting to not only start a podcast for a long time, but tell my story for a long time. So my name is Anne Marie. Everyone calls me AM, so that's what you'll call me, AM. And I am here in my home with my two children, Paul Miller and Jet Miller. And you might occasionally see them pop in and out of frame because they're obsessed and they need attention constantly. So anyways, yeah, like I said, this is going to be the first of many. These are going to get better as they go. I've never done a podcast. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have fancy equipment, and I really don't give a fuck about any of that. All that matters is that the content gets to you, that the stories get to you, and that what I'm saying gets to you. And hopefully what I'm saying will inspire you, move you, or help you in areas of your life. And the real reason I wanted to do a podcast is because I feel like I have a lot of information and knowledge to share. I have a lot of stories in which I've learned lessons in, and I think that through my stories you can learn lessons as well. And so, yeah, my mother has told me for years now that I should write a book, but gosh darn it, writing a book is just so freaking hard. And also, are y'all reading books? Are y'all reading books regularly, or are you driving right now listening to me? You're probably not even watching this. I wanted to do a video podcast for a few reasons. One, I don't know, it just makes more sense, and it can go on YouTube. And, I can make a shit ton of money on YouTube if like millions of you watch this. So, that. Also, I've got a really good looking face, so I feel like you should see it. And not only that, I want you to get to know my face. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I want to be powerful, and I want to be great, and I want to be fucking famous. And I only want to be famous so that people can hear the words coming out of my mouth. I don't want to be famous for glory. I don't want to be famous for money. I don't want to be famous just to be famous. I want people to know me and hear the words coming out of my face so that they can be moved, enlightened, motivated, inspired, anything. I feel like I have a lot to share with the world. And you know what? Each and every single one of us do as well. So hopefully my stories will motivate you, inspire you to tell your own. So that's my spiel, okay? And so a lot of you know me. A lot of you know that I've been in an accident recently. 6 months ago, actually. Just 5 days from now will mark the 6-month anniversary of my accident. And I wasn't able to talk publicly about my accident for a while because, lawsuits and all that jazz. But I've just been cleared. I'm allowed to be myself, and I'm allowed to tell you my story. And I have been wanting to tell you this story since the day it happened. But, I couldn't. So here I am. I'm free from the chains of my lawyers and free from, worrying about anybody watching me or whatever, Long story. You don't need to know the details of that. But I want to tell you everything. And if you don't know me, you're going to find out. You're going to find out who I really am and what happened to me and how I've been transformed by that accident and by that event. It completely transformed me and turned me into a different person. And you know what? Before the accident, I was ready to be transformed. I was itching. My subconscious was screaming at me to stop what I was doing and change direction. And then this accident happened. And I had no choice anymore. I had to stop everything that I was doing. So let me just tell you, okay? So to give you some backstory on me, I have been a stripper and a pole dancer for 17 years. I started stripping in 2002, and I started at the nude clubs, and I did nude and topless and bikini for 17 years. It was my passion. It was my love. I was very, very good at it. Okay. Tail got in the way. I was very, very good at it. I won Entertainer of the Year for Spearmint Rhino for 2006. I toured the country reigning as Spearmint Rhino Entertainer of the Year. It was fabulous. Now, after I won Entertainer of the Year, I left Spearmint Rhino. That was my plan. My plan was to win that contest and leave the strip club industry because what was happening in the strip clubs in LA was pretty gnarly. And so I went to Jumbo's Clown Room, and then I danced there for 11 and a half years. And during that time, I also danced in New York And gosh, I think that might be the only other city I danced at when I was at Jumbo's. I danced in New York. I danced at Sapphires and Lucky 13 Saloon, which was the jam, man. That spot in Brooklyn is rad. So if you're ever in Brooklyn, check that spot out. And so I thought I was at the height of my career, actually, given my accident. I was in really good shape. I finally, I was just a fucking boss, basically. I was killing it, and I was making the best money that I've been making, and I was making the smartest moves with my money than I ever had been before. I was saving money for retirement. I was paying my taxes as an under-the-table independent contractor. I put a life insurance plan in place. I did my finances every month. I kept track of it. I saved a lot of money, and thank God I did. Because I needed it. So one of the things that I started doing was I bought a scooter. Like, it looks like a Vespa. It's actually called a Genuine Buddy. Not a lot of people know that brand. So I always say Vespa so that you understand. No, I was not riding one of those dumb birds, okay? One of those little foot scooters. No, I wasn't on one of those. I was on like a legit scooter. I wore a helmet with pink braid pigtails coming out of it. And I had a blast on that thing. I was a daredevil, and I was doing all kinds of shit I probably shouldn't have been doing, to be honest with you. But the night of my accident, I was just driving normal. Now, it was dark. It was really dark outside. It was like 6:40. It was December 18th, 2018. So not only was it dark, and the timing was like traffic, and the season is like everyone's stressed out and trying to like just Christmas shop, which is whatever. But, we're not going to get into that. So I was going through an intersection, and it was a green light, and I was going straight, and the opposite traffic that was about to turn left turned into me and hit me. A car. She hit me. And I saw it coming. I knew I was going to get hit. And so what I ended up doing was I tried to like swerve out of the way. So I was going straight, and she was coming towards me. And in my head, I was like, if I go around her, like that, I can like avoid getting hit by her. I thought, maybe I was faster or sneakier. And so I ended up turning myself a little bit to the right, and then I exposed the left side of my body. And that's where she hit me. She hit me on the back part of the scooter on the left side. And there's little pedals up on the back. And I like to ride my feet up high on the scooter. If you notice, a lot of scooters have a bucket thing that goes like this, and most scooter riders put their feet in the bucket. Well, like I said, I was a daredevil, so I felt like I was riding a crotch rocket when I would put my feet on the back pedals. And that's where she hit me with her car, was where my foot was on the back pedals. And she crushed my foot between the bumper of her car and my scooter. And it immediately pancaked all 5 of my toes and the ball of my foot. Complete pancaked. And crushed all of them on impact. And amputated half of my foot immediately on impact. Now, my toes weren't just like flopping around on the ground. It's not like they popped off like little grapes and started rolling around. My foot was, I was told later when I met one of the ER nurses that when they saw my foot, that all of the toes and the ball of my foot was a complete flat pancake, right? And it was hanging, I don't want you to see my nail that broke. It was hanging over my foot like this, like hanging over and like flopping. And I remember, and I'm going to tell you all the thoughts that were going through my head, but right now I'm just getting through the facts, right? I remember later seeing something white on my foot in the ambulance. And I didn't know if it was my nail polish or if it was my bone, because I had just had my nails, my nails done and my pedicure done that day, and I chose white. I chose white that day, and I never choose white. And so when I took a peek in the ambulance, I was like, is that my nail polish or is that my bone? And I was like, you know what? I don't want to know about that. I don't want to know. I'm just going to wait until we get professionally assessed. So here's some things that I'm going to tell you that are really compelling. leading up to the accident, there was like so many signs that this was meant to happen and that it was going to happen. And I saw all of those signs as time went on when I was in the hospital. So there was also, as soon as it happened, everything was very clear. I didn't pass out. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't panic. I stayed very, very calm. And I took everything in stride, and I lived in each moment as it happened. I was patient. I felt safe. And there was one time when I didn't feel safe, and I'm going to tell you. So as soon as I got hit, I kind of tumbled out of the scooter and I rolled a little bit, right? So both of my knees hit the ground really hard and both of my knees really hurt. And I ended up on my back in the street, and I was in the middle of an intersection. It's a very busy intersection. It's Pico and Crenshaw. For those of you who live in LA, you know where that is. And I rolled into the ground, and my immediate thought was, I'm in danger because I'm in the middle of the street and cars are going to come and like run over me. So as soon as I landed, I rolled and stopped rolling. I was on my back, and immediately I was like, I'm not paralyzed. And I rolled over. Like, I knew I wasn't paralyzed. And I rolled over onto my stomach, and I felt fear for about 2 solid seconds because I thought I was going to get hit by a car. And I started army crawling out of the road, and I knew I knew that I was in so much pain I wouldn't be able to stand up. I knew that, but I knew that I wasn't paralyzed. So I started to army crawl, and I started saying, help me, because I didn't want to get hit by a car, right? And as soon as, like I'm not even kidding, it was like 2 or 3 seconds, I immediately felt somebody put their hands on my back, and they said, stop moving. And as soon as I felt someone's hands on me, I was like, okay. I'm not paralyzed. I'm alive, and there are people here helping me. So this is all going to work out. And the next feeling I had was, I literally thought to myself, I have a really good excuse not to be anywhere and not to do anything. I can not show up for a bunch of things for the next few days. And no one's going to be upset with me, and I won't be letting anybody down because I have a really good excuse to stay still. And I think I had that thought because leading up to the accident, it was go, 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 go. I didn't stop. I didn't take a break. I was preparing for change happening in my life already. I was preparing for Jumbo's Clown Room to switch us from independent contractors to employees due to the rewritten labor laws. And I'm going to talk about that on another podcast. I'm not going to get into that here. But my point is I was preparing. The day before the accident, I bought a car because I knew I was going to have to start driving further to different places of work. And so I was researching other places. I was auditioning at other places. And I was just preparing for a new life. So I was working very hard. And I was like, okay, I think my dancing career is coming to an end. It's time to do something new. And so I was just non-stop. And so when I was laying there in the street, I was like, oh my God, relief. I don't have to go anywhere. No joke. I felt relief laying there. Okay. So these people were standing over me, and one woman started praying, and then they all started asking me questions. What's your name? Where do you live? And then they asked me what day it was. I was like, yo, man. In my head, I'm like, on a day where I'm not laying in the middle of a street, I still might have a hard time answering that question. So I literally, they were like, oh, what day is it? And I was like, Tuesday. It's Tuesday. And they asked me what date, and I was like, it's December 18th. And then, they asked me if I could move some of my, my leg, and I moved my leg, and I moved both legs, and then, then they started, I started saying, like, call Fox, because Fox is one of my best friends. She's my closest neighbor, and I knew that she would drop everything and come and take care of me. So I said, call Fox, call Fox. Well, my phone, I didn't know at the time, was had been smashed. It looked like someone took an ice pick to it. It had holes in it, right? And so navigating the phone was impossible. It was all cracked and broken, and you couldn't touch it without basically slicing your hand. And what had happened was my mom called me while I was laying in the street. My mom called me to say hi. Now, my mom and I talk almost every day. So it's not highly unusual that she called me. But it is the timing was just perfect, wasn't it? So my mom called me, and a man answered the phone, a man who was helping, and said, "Don't worry, your daughter's going to be okay. The ambulance is coming." And my mom was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Who the fuck are you?" And she was really chill. She didn't respond that way, but that's what she was thinking. And she could hear me yelling in the background, call Fox, because I didn't know she was on the phone. I didn't know until much later, a couple days later, that she was even on the phone that night. And she heard me, and then, the guy hung up with my mom, and my mom didn't have Fox's number. My mom didn't have any of my friends' numbers. So, she's very resourceful. She figured it out, and she ended up getting in touch with Fox, and Fox came to the hospital, and, that all ended well. They started stripping me in the street too. They started to cut my jeans off. They cut my jeans. They were my favorite jeans. They cut my jeans off, and they almost cut the leather jacket off that I was wearing. They cut my vest. I wore a white vest over the leather jacket, and it was one of my favorite things, and they cut that off. And then they wanted to cut my leather jacket. Now that leather jacket saved me probably from breaking my elbows. It's very thick and padded, leather jacket. It has fringe on it, and it's beautiful. And, I'm not big on animal products, but when you're riding vehicles like scooters and motorcycles, wearing leather is really important. And so they tried to cut it off, and I was like, no, you're not cutting this jacket off. And so I literally put my arms behind me like this, and I was like, just take it off. Take it off. And they did. They slid it off of me, and they preserved it, which was great. I want to tell you the things that were going through my head. Let's talk about that, because I laid in the street for about probably 5 minutes, and 5 minutes went by really fast. And so the first thing I said, I felt fear, and I knew I was potentially in danger. Luckily for me, everybody at the intersection stopped. Nobody went through the intersection. There was no danger. I just didn't know that. I didn't even know where I was in relation to the intersection. I had my orientation, I was completely off. So the first thing was fear, survival, get out of the street. The next thing was relief. And then the next thing I did was I told myself, take this moment by moment. Let's live in each moment. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't stress out. Stay calm. You've seen these types of things happen before. An ambulance is coming for you. And then at one point I went, oh, fuck. I don't have insurance. Because I had just signed up for insurance, and it wasn't supposed to kick in until January 1st. Now it was December 18th. Okay. I was like, fuck, man, I don't have insurance, and here comes the ambulance, and that's going to cost $8,000 right there. And immediately I went, no, don't do that. Don't go there. Don't think about that. Just think about now. What's happening now? And that's exactly what I did. I stayed calm. I spoke to the EMTs. They were awesome. They rolled me over. And I remember when they rolled me from the ground, I was on my stomach for a really long time, and they rolled me over onto my back onto the stretcher. And then as they lifted the stretcher up, I could see out of the corner of my eye all the people watching. There was people everywhere. Everyone was watching. And a lot of those people were there in support and talking to me. And I remember there were two men. I don't know who they are. Never saw their faces. And they sat on each side of me. And they gave me their fingers to hold on to. because they knew I was in pain. And they said, just hold on to my finger. They both did it on either side. I was laying on my stomach with my arms down at my side, like this, and holding on to their fingers to deal with the pain. And it was excruciating. It was excruciating pain. It was white hot pain. My foot felt like it was on fire. And I don't cry because I think about the pain, and I don't cry because I think about my foot. I get emotional because I'm so moved by the people that were strangers that came to my rescue. It gets me every time. I can tell you details about my foot and surgery and what that was like and not get upset, but the people that were there. And I wish I knew who they were so that I could say thank you and give back to them, So I'd like to go back to, because there's a bus station there. I know, I feel like there was a lot of people there because there was a bus station there. And, I was driving through the intersection so quickly. And just recently, a couple weeks ago, I was driving through the intersection with a friend. And I said, I think there's a bus stop at this stop. And that's why there were so many people there. And we drove through the intersection. And sure enough, there was a bus stop there. And it was just like a feeling that I had known that it existed there, that I had seen it in my peripheral, Because like I said, I had my helmet on for a long time and I was laying face down for a long time. And so I didn't get a lot of opportunity to see what was around me. And just as I had suspected, there was a bus stop there. And so I have fantasies of going back to the bus stop and seeing if, if any of those people would be there. If that's their daily routine or something. So anyway, so I got in the ambulance and I immediately started saying to the EMT, who was like super hot, by the way, it was like so hot. And I was like, oh, thank God I did my makeup before this accident. And I was like laying there looking up at him going like, fuck man, this isn't how I want to meet like a super hot dude. Like, so whatever. And then I had to pull it together and realize what I was actually there in the ambulance for. It's not to date hot EMTs. And I started saying to him, am I going to lose my foot? Are they going to take my foot? I started asking right away, are they going to take my foot? And he goes like this. He looks down at my foot and looks back at me and goes, I mean, it looks pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. And then that's when I lifted my head up to see, I lifted my head up and then that's when I saw the white, right? The one speck of white. It was so quick. And I put my head back down. He's like, do you want to see? Do you want to look? And I was like, no. I don't want to look. I don't want to see that. And then we got to the hospital and, I was like begging for drugs, begging for it. I wanted drugs so bad. And we get into the ER and then they cut off more of my clothes. Well, first they're like, hey, like, can we cut your clothes off? And I'm like, you obviously don't know who I am. Like, fuck, yeah, I don't fucking care. Cut my clothes off. Like, save me, save my life, like, cut my clothes off. I don't care. And so I cut my shirt off and then they cut my fucking best bra, dude. It was my Lively bra. It was my favorite fucking bra and I need to go and buy it again because I haven't gone back and gotten it since. So they cut it off, whatever, and then the cops come and they're talking to me, and I'm like totally fucking out of it by this point. I think I'm either on drugs or trying to keep it together. At one point, they had me in an MRI booth, and like I had to stay still, right? But I'm like writhing in pain from this excruciating white hot pain on my foot. And that was all mental, man. That was all like keep it together, stay calm, don't cry, stay still. It's just pain. Pain is temporary. I got to tell you, the amount of time I spent in my head controlling my emotions was extensive. It did not end. It still hasn't ended. I have spent so much time up here making sure I've got this right that's how I've been able to get through the last 6 months. My dancing career is boom, cut off. Boom, shut up. Not existing anymore. I am not dancing. I was teaching. I was traveling teaching. I was dancing 3 nights a week. I was performing in random various shows. I was performing in music videos. I was doing all kinds of shit. I was performing at home. I was killing it. My dancing career cut off overnight. My money cut Gone. No option to make money. So yeah, I had to control everything that happened up here in my head. And I would say laying on the table in the MRI thing was like, like that was some fucking hard ass shit. Just laying there and like you had to be quiet, you can't move, you can't do anything. Meanwhile, listen, I don't know who's coming for me. I don't know who even knows where I am. I didn't know my mom called. I didn't know. I didn't know if anyone got in touch with Fox. And they weren't telling me anything. I was like, hey, I was asking them to, hey, are they gonna cut my foot off? Are you guys gonna take my foot? And then one of them would say, we can't tell you that. We have to wait till the doctor looks at you. We can't say anything. And then I thought, oh, I'll just try another person. And like a new person would come in and I'd be like, hey, are they gonna take my foot? Are they gonna cut my foot off? And they all had the same answer. And after like the third person, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, most likely they're taking my foot, because if they weren't taking my foot, they would be like, it's just a couple broken bones. But they didn't say that. They said they wouldn't give me answers, which means y'all are fucking taking my foot. And, but another thing, so this is now what went through my head. Okay, like just deal with it. Just stop asking questions, just live in the moment. So I had to remind myself to live in the moment again, because it didn't matter if they took my foot. And I'll tell you what, though, what I ended up thinking to myself was, you know what? If they take my foot, like, BFD, right? Like, amputees do whatever. Like, people run marathons, and people run fucking races and beat other people. Like, so what if they take my foot? Like, not a big deal, okay? I'm alive, and I'm speaking, and I'm here, so it's fine. And that's what I ended up telling myself. And then sure enough, when, they rolled me upstairs into a hospital room. I got my own hospital room, which is really nice. I actually ended up in Cedars-Sinai, which is like the bougiest fucking hospital. Like, I'll get into details in a minute. And so my doctor comes in, who he's supposed to be my doctor. And I got to tell you guys, this man is an angel sent from above. I'm going to get emotional again, because he just was so incredible. And he walked in and he told me, like, yeah, like, we're going to take all 4 of your toes, right? And we're going to try to save the rest. That's what he told me. And then, no, sorry. That's what the nurses told me. The nurses said that they were going to take all 4 of my toes, leave the big toe and the ball of my foot, like just 4 toes. And this is what I thought. Oh, fine, that's fine. I could do that. And then the doctor came in, and he said, no, actually, we're taking all 5 of your toes and almost the entire ball of your foot, and we're going to leave one piece, like a small piece of the ball of your foot behind. And we're going to do everything we can. We know you're a dancer, and we know that you're going to want to dance again. And so we're going to keep as much as we can. And then he walked out of the room and left me in a pitch black hospital room, completely alone, to sit on that information that I was losing half my foot. And I still wasn't sure if anyone knew I was there. And like maybe an hour later, my 2 friends, Fox and Andrea, showed up. And I was very relieved that people knew where I was, and that's when I allowed myself to really, truly cry and release all of that shit that built up. I didn't cry at all. I even only cried for like a minute after my doctor told me he was taking my foot. But when I talked to my friends, that's when I really cried. And, the rest after that is just like the amount of support I received from friends and family and from the pole dance community. And when I say pole dance community, I mean the exotic pole dance community and the pole fitness community. They just rallied around me like I had never seen anything like that before in my life, or not towards me anyway. And I was just so moved by it. It was incredible. And I didn't need to worry about not dancing for a few months because so many people donated to me. And I almost didn't set up a GoFundMe page. It was my friend's idea. It was Shelly's idea, my friend Shelly. And so, and also my mom's friend Margaret helped. So Shelly and Margaret worked together, and they didn't even know each other. And we put them in touch, and Shelly and Margaret made the GoFundMe page together. And I told my friend, before I set up the GoFundMe page, I told another friend of mine, I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want like beg for money online. Like, that seems like weak. That's. And he said, by not allowing me to help you, you're being selfish, because I want to help you and it makes me feel good to help you and to help other people. And by denying other people the opportunity to help you, you're taking away their joy. And therefore you're being selfish. And so I said, well, okay, then I don't want to take away your joy. So yes, you all can help me and we'll set up a GoFundMe page. And so we did. And so thank you to all of you that donated and that made a difference in my life. So the very next day, I went into surgery at 7 a.m. and they basically cleaned up the debris, right? They swept up all of the smashed bits of my foot. And I remember waking up the next, when the surgery was over, and I was just in a good mood. First of all, I was on Dilaudid, which is like the best drug ever. And it goes back to, again, like there was still a sense of relief. Like I can just stay here because I just was so tired. I was so tired of doing stuff. And I got to watch like old timey movies and like push the Dilaudid button every 10 minutes. So it's pretty chill. And I remember one of the nurses saying, wow, you're just like in such a good mood and you're like really happy. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm alive. I'm fucking alive. And things could have been so much worse in that situation, and they weren't. And I think I knew that. I knew it immediately that, oh, I'm alive. I'm not paralyzed. I don't know what would have been worse, being completely paralyzed or being dead. And I wasn't either of those things. I was fucking alive, and my legs could move, and my mouth could move, and my face is still intact. It's a big deal. Love this face, right? So, I felt a lot of gratefulness, a lot of that. And I remember very clearly my time in the hospital and the people that came to support me and visited me and the people that came and decorated my room for Christmas, as I spent Christmas in the hospital, which the timing could have been better. I don't like Christmas anyway, so I didn't mind missing that holiday. And my mom flew out, she came and stayed with me, and it was amazing. And, and then I had to heal, and there was a 3-month process of healing. So they told me, okay, you're not going to be able to walk on this for like 3 to 6 months. And I said, 3 months. 3 months. And they were like, okay, that's pushing it. And I'm like, 3 months. And I was walking in 3 months, cut to exactly to the fucking day, March 18th, 2019. I was walking on both of my feet. And a couple weeks later, I started to notice something was off. Something didn't feel right. And I started getting, there was a little blood pool under the skin on the edge of where the big toe would have been. And it was painful. It was tender. It was getting worse each day. For about 2 to 3 days, I noticed it. And then the blood pool surfaced. It like opened up. So it was like an open wound one night. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about this tonight. I'm just going to go to sleep and we'll just see how it is in the morning. And then we'll deal with it then. Because at this point, it had been like midnight on a Sunday or something. And I was like, there's nothing I can do anyway. So I'm just going to go to sleep. And I took a bunch of drugs, went to sleep, woke up the next day, and it had turned into a hole. in my foot. Now it was a hole. It wasn't just an opening, it was a hole. And I cleaned it up to really look at what the hole was, and then I saw something white again. I saw something white. And I said to myself, is that my bone or is that pus? Is this an infection? Or is that my bone? And so I was like, okay, well, I have these really long nails. I'm like, okay, we're going to tap. And if it's soft, it's pus. And if it's hard, it's bone. And so I took my finger and I went tap, tap, tap. And sure enough, it was hard. And my bone was showing. And I thought, well, that is definitely not good. So I called the doctor and I'm like, yeah, my bone is showing through my foot. And they were like, okay, take a picture and send it. And they were like, oh, it's probably like, well, whatever. I sent the picture like, oh no, that's your bone. You need to come in ASAP. And so I went to the emergency room and I think the next day I went to the emergency room because it was a whole process to figure out, the pictures and get them to see it. And then they wanted me to go in first. And so I went in to see the doctor and then I went to the emergency room. And so I wasn't in the emergency room till Tuesday. Spent the night in the emergency room. The next morning I was on the operating table again and they had to extract the last small piece of the ball of my foot because there wasn't enough muscle tissue to go over the bone. And that's why the bone had pushed through. And so they had to take it out. And the very next day, that next afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, I was home. But it meant I had to stay off my foot again for another 3 weeks. And I was so stoked that I got to walk again after 3 months because I was like, fuck whatever they said. Like, I'm stronger, I'm faster, I'm better. Like, I'm winning over here. Like, I don't need their 6 months. I got 3 months. I'm going to be back dancing a month from now. No, that's not it at all. So 3 weeks later, now I'm walking again. I'm in a cane. I'm wearing stripper boots here and there. Not a lot, not whatever, So here's some things I want to tell you. Excuse me first. I need to have a sip. I knew for about 2 years that impact was on its way for me. I'd have these visions. I'd have these like very, very quick and abrupt notions of impact in my head. I could sense that something was coming that was going to hit and that was going to damage in a way. And these feelings would just come out of nowhere. They would be very strong. And I would always immediately go, no, don't think about that. Push that out. That's not real. You're making that up. And then, so now when I reflect back on it, I wonder, did I manifest this? Or was that my intuition? And what is the difference between manifestation and intuition if I can literally manifest an accident or I can literally manifest like a boyfriend? I did that once. My last serious boyfriend. I was like, the first day I met him, I was like, oh, that's going to be my boyfriend. Done. Nailed it. And then 6 months later, he was my boyfriend. So it's like, did I manifest this accident or am I just so psychic that I saw it coming? And I don't know. And that's a real question. I don't know the answer to that. But what I'll tell you now is that I do spend a lot of time manifesting because obviously I have some sort of power. And I think that we all do. I think that we all have the power to manifest. I think that we all have the power to really listen to our intuition after, practicing listening to it and practicing acting on it. Yes, well, I'm in the middle of something, Paul. And so I don't know I don't know what it was. I don't know if I knew it was coming. I don't know if I made it up in my head and I made it come. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, like I said, I was ready for a change in my life. I was on my way to a seminar that was about self-development, actually, the night of the accident. A couple of the other signs that something was coming these are the things. One, it was very weird that my mom called, right? The other is I bought a car the day before this accident. Another was the pair of boots I was wearing that night. I accidentally bought a second pair on Amazon because it was in my cart, and I'd made a big Amazon purchase a couple days before the accident, and I purchased the same pair of boots that I was wearing that night. And I thought, oh dang, I didn't want to do that because they're like $100. Like, I don't need to spend like a random $100 for no reason. And I was like, oh, I'll just send them back when I get them. Well, I needed those shoes because that car not only smashed my foot, but it smashed my boot and it ruined it, cut my boot in half. And so I just, kind of subconsciously knew I was going to need those boots again. And now I have them. And another thing is I have a big chalkboard in my kitchen and I always write stuff on it. And the day of the accident, I erased the chalkboard. And I thought to myself, I'm going to fill this chalkboard up in a few days with like all these things that I want to manifest and that I want to do. And then I had the accident. And when I came home the next day after the accident, I sat down at the edge of my bed because the chalkboard is across from where my bed is. I sat down on the edge of my bed and I looked at a blank slate in front of me. And I said out loud, oh, wow, there's a blank slate. And, it took me a couple of weeks to realize that I wasn't going to be dancing anymore. Because initially I wanted to. Initially I was like, no problem. I'm going to be able to dance again. And it took me a couple weeks to realize, no, this all happened for a reason. There's a reason why I lost my foot. There's a reason why I'm not going to be dancing now. And it's because it's just time. I danced for 17 years and there needs to be a new path. And I'm ready. I'm ready for it. And this is one of those things, right? Doing this podcast is one of those things that is like change is going to catapult my life into just a different arena, into just something new. I didn't need to be dancing. I don't need to continue dancing after 17 years. I want to realize my true greatness, which is to talk to people, inspire people, which seems like I've been doing through this accident. It feels like, I get a lot of messages. I hear from a lot of you that I'm inspiring and I'm motivating you. And I want to continue to do that for the rest of my life because that feels really damn good, So that's where I am right now. And that's pretty much the end of my story for now. I'm sure that over time, other things are going to come to me to talk about in this podcast. And, I'm so excited to see what's next. And that's kind of been my feeling this whole time is like, what is next? What am I capable of? I've started to live every day as if every day is a new test and every day is a new game. And how am I going to pass the test or win the game? And it doesn't matter if I pass or fail that day. It just mostly matters how I play the game and how I play that day. And that I give it my all. And so what I can tell you now is about 80% of the time I wake up at 6 a.m. And about 70% of the time I exercise as soon as I wake up. The other 30% I'm not exercising is to give my body a break. I'm not exercising because I'm not lazy. I'm not exercising because my body needs to recuperate and recover in certain ways. Because I didn't exercise for about 5 months straight. So I don't want to injure myself further. So I work all day, every day, and I have visions. I have affirmations. I meditate. I listen to motivational speeches. I drink very little. I used to drink 7 days a week, man, 2 to 5 drinks a night. I'm not even kidding. Sometimes wine at lunch. It just depended on what I was doing that day. No TV. There's I only get 1, maybe 2 hours on a special day of Game of Thrones. And I'm coming for you. I'm coming for everything because I only have this one life, and so do you. And what you do with yourself every single day really fucking matters. And I'm here to tell you, talking yourself out of doing the things that you really want to do is a huge mistake. Wondering if you have the money, if you have the education, if you have the skills, fuck all of that. Do whatever you want to do that makes you happy. And if you're going to fail, fail. If you feel like you might look stupid, who fucking cares if you look stupid? Who cares? We're all going to die someday anyway, and it's never going to matter ever again. You know what looks stupid? Living a life and not trying anything and not doing the things that you think about every day that you wish you think you want to do. Just do it. What are you waiting for? And for me, laying in that street and surviving that moment and still surviving, I got to tell you, man, this isn't a one day at a time situation that I'm in right now. I'm not over here just because I'm talking and I look good and my makeup looks good and my hair looks good. Doesn't mean I'm fucking good all the time every day. No, this is a battle. Every single day I wake up is a battle. And I have to ask myself, how are you going to fight this battle today? What are you going to do to make today count? And I live hour by hour, day by day. And this is the hardest time in my life. And I got to tell you, there's going to be a lot harder days coming after these ones. And not because of my fucking foot, man, but because of life. And I'm going to battle every day, and I'm going to survive through those days because I know now that mentally up here, I've got it together. And I'm going to tell you, the key to keeping it together up here is staying calm and remaining present and not getting ahead of yourself. Like what I wanted to do in the beginning. Oh, the ambulance, I don't have insurance, I don't have money, how am I going to pay for this? I almost went there. And as soon as I did, I checked myself and I stopped doing that. I'm living in the day, I'm living in the hour, I'm living in the moment. And that's my advice to you. Do what makes you happy. Do what feels good. Do what feels right. And do also what feels scary. Because if you're not scared, you're not doing anything interesting. I feel fear almost every day. It's like good fear, you know? Like exciting, nervous fear. Because excitement and nervousness, they react in the brain the same way. They live in the same part of the brain. So next time you're nervous about something, tell yourself, nah, I'm excited. Yeah? And just do it. Do what you want. So I'm going to close with a couple of things here. I'm going to let you know some of the things that I've been up to. One of the things I'm working on really hard is United Pole Artists, which is my company that I've had for 10 years. And we just launched a coaching program today. Today is June 13th, 2019. And there'll be coaching sessions where I will be assisting and guiding pole dancers on how to expand their pole dance career, whether you're an exotic dancer or pole fitness dancer. So I'm working on that. I'm working on another really fun secret project that you'll hear about really soon. And I also do web design. I have a web design company, so if you need a website, let me know about that. And I also work with Soldiers of Pole, which is an activist group that is working to unionize strippers here in California. So check that out and feel free to ask me about that as well. And I've also been blogging, so you can find my blogs here on the website, thequeenofsexy.com. And please feel free to share this podcast with whoever you want. My story is public now, and I want everyone to know what it was like and what I've been going through and how I'm doing and how I'm feeling. And just thank you so much. I'm so grateful to all of you all the time. And I hope you tune in. Keep tuning in. And let me know if there are any subjects that you want to hear me speak about. I would love that. I would love to hear suggestions from you. Okay? Peace.